Hey everyone, it's Juan, and for today's episode, I want to explore a topic that I've been struggling for a long time, and that's answering the question of industry versus grad school. What can I expect from either one? Let's take a look. Before I begin, I want to get a few things out of the way. First, when I talk about industry versus grad school, I'm talking specifically about CS industry and a CS PhD. But the things I say probably are applicable to other areas as well. Just do your research ahead of time to make sure that things I say are in fact true for your specific field. Number two, some of these things I say here are my opinions based on my own observations and talking to friends and lab mates. What I say is by no means the end all be all. I'm just here to offer one viewpoint to help you make your decision. Finally, a lot of the things I'm about to say comes with asterisks. There's exceptions to almost everything I say, so just bear that in mind as we continue through. So this vlog is going to basically try to answer the question, what would my life look like in the next 4 or 5 years if I went to industry versus if I went to grad school? All right, got it? Let's go. Okay, yeah, sorry, one more thing. So in this video, I'll just be laying down the picture of what life in industry would be like versus life in grad school. I was originally going to answer the question of is grad school worth it in this video, but after writing the script, I realized there was a lot to talk about that. So I'm actually just going to dodge that question in this video and I'll make a separate video later for that. All right, let's get started with the first and most obvious thing, the elephant in the room. Let's just get it out of the way. That's money. Especially in a field like computer science, the money you make in industry versus the money you'll be making in grad school is nowhere near comparable. Plus, add to that all the stock options, bonuses, possibly the free transportation, housing, and meals that you're getting in industry, and the difference is even more staggering. Especially in a field like computer science, the money you make in industry versus the money you'll be making in grad school is nowhere
versus the money you'll be making in grad school.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. You actually do get paid in grad school. For computer science, PhDs, it's roughly $20,000 to $30,000 a year. It's important to note that this rate is set and non-negotiable. So unlike industry, you don't get to leverage one lab or one grad program over another and say, hey, lab X or grad school Y is offering me this amount of money, can you match that? Also, unlike industry, you don't get bonuses based on performance or stuff like that. Your rate is pretty much set the entire year. It's important to note that this rate is set by the university and the department. So basically, whatever lab you're in or whatever research you'll be doing in that department, you'll be making the same amount of money. All right, so where does this payment come from? It can come from really one of two major sources. The first is from your PI or your academic advisor or whoever is in charge of running your lab. This basically comes from their grant money, and they're basically paying you to do research. The second way is that the university might just pay for it. Oftentimes, you might have to do work for the university, like being a teaching assistant. But there are times when the university might just give it to you, no strings attached, in the form of fellowship. Oftentimes, this will be within the first year or two of grad school when you're still looking for advisors and still trying to explore different areas of research. The specifics obviously vary from program to program, so if you're at the point where you're deciding between grad programs, I highly suggest that you look very carefully at the funding options to see which one might better be a match for you. One way to get more money is through fellowships, but it's important to note that some fellowships like the NSF GRFP actually replace your stipend. It's not in addition to your current stipend, so keep that in mind when you're applying. All right, with that out of the way, let's move on to the second topic, which is the environment that you might expect if you're in grad school versus in industry. So grad school is great in the sense that I think of it as a hybrid between school and work. Of course, in the beginning of grad school, where you're still taking a lot of classes, it will still feel a lot like school, maybe even like undergrad. But as you transition away from that and start focusing more on research and taking fewer classes, it will definitely start feeling more like work. You have to show up to office or lab at certain times, you have to meet certain deadlines, you have meetings, so on and so forth. But you still get the benefits of being in school. What do I mean by that? You can join student clubs and organizations, play intramural sports, go to school games, plus you still get that sweet student discount. You also get the benefit of being around peers who are roughly the same age as you, which my friends from industry have told me that is a lot harder to do. Furthermore, since you're technically in school, you still get breaks like summer, spring, and winter, unlike the more traditional PTO system that you might find in industry. Over summer break, it's actually pretty common to see grad students go do an internship or do a side project, much like you would see in undergrad. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention is that when you go to grad school for PhD, the tuition is actually free, so that's a huge bonus. The final thing I'd like to talk about is the nature of the work that you might be doing in industry versus in grad school. Before I continue, a quick disclaimer. This is a section that I'm probably least qualified to talk about, I actually never worked in industry. I just went straight from undergrad to grad school. And so the information I'm telling here is the information I got from talking to my friends who have done both research and industry. In grad school, as you might guess, the main focus is research. There aren't really a variety of roles like you might find in industry, like product management or quality assurance or etc. The focus of industry is also much more different. The goals are much more short term, so they're often like quarterly or maybe yearly. So I've heard from friends that it's a lot harder to delve deep into a long-term project or problem that they really want to solve. Also, the metrics by which you measure performance is often different, so they're often more user-facing, like clicks or views or profits. This might not always line up with what's most appropriate to do in research for that particular task. Alright, so in my opinion, those were a few of the key differences between CS Industry and CS PhD. I know that list is probably not complete, and I'm still missing a few things, but I still hope it will help make your decision. Take care, and I'll see you next time.